Hi, I'm Hetty Bryant. Welcome to MGT 568 Difference and Leadership. Today I'm just going to give you a bit of an overview of the subject, a bit about the underlying narrative of the subject, tell you a little bit about myself and how we're going to learn together interactively. So let's get started. So first of all, I'll give you a little bit of an overview about myself because I think it's really important that we get to share each other's backgrounds, diversity, etc., because that's the underlying part of this subject. And I'd really like I encourage everyone to share about themselves on the first weekly forum as well. So I actually come from a very diverse working life. Before I actually started and did a degree in agriculture at Wagga Ag College, I actually did some nursing and I did some key to disc operating, and I kind of fooled around for a couple of years and then went off and did ag. I worked mostly in feral animal control research and exotic disease preparedness to coordinating the establishment of the Australian Wildlife Health Network. I also worked in catchment management at Landcare because I obtained a Master of Environmental Management, also from CSU. So then about 14 years, so that was about 25 years worth. About 14 years ago I moved to Charles Sturt Uni, and I've been mostly working in leadership and professional development and organisational change. A lot of different jobs. Working in a student experience program, working in the Division of Human Resources. But at the core of all of this has been facilitating organisational change and professional development. And last year I was very lucky or a lot of work. I received a Doctor of Communication from CSU. And the last 2 years I worked as the Manager Diversity and Equity, which really gives me a lot of kind of background. Not just that, but a lot of the other roles that I've held over the years has given me a lot of background, and so I'm really excited about being able to facilitate the learning in this subject. I also am a member of the Learning in Future Environment Steering Committee. CSU is the first carbon neutral university in Australia. We're very proud of that, and so sustainability is very much embedded in the curriculum and in all the staff practices as well. Governance, I'm a board director and chair. I'm the chair of the local Rahamim Ecology Centre, which builds both my passions, both governance and sustainability. I was a member of the Australian Institute of Company Directors and have done the Company Directors course, so very passionate about governance and strategy. I'm a certified professional facilitator, and I have done a lot of training in facilitation, and I also train facilitators as well, using a method called the technology of participation facilitation. And I'm just going to get my water, hang on. I also really like to volunteer, and I am a volunteer on the Rahamim Ecology Centre board, but I volunteer on the Bathurst Kangaroo Project, which is a unique project that we are working on relocating all the kangaroos around Mount Panorama because of the clash between the racing and roos and between people living in an environment with kangaroos, in an urban area. And I also volunteer at the Whole Food Co-op when I get a chance. I'm a mother of two. Both of them will be have their birthdays in March, so we have a double whammy of 21 and 30. And finally, my great-great-grandmother was a Samoan princess, and she was the first Samoan settler in New Zealand. So that's my racial background, which is about 6.66% that I can claim. So the underlying narrative and learning objectives for this subject. So this is really much about us being different and identity and difference. So we're really looking at who are we, what is our identity, what is our background. It's not just the ethnic and the racial background. What are some of the other backgrounds as well? What's the sexual orientation? What's our gender? Religious background, people come with disability, be it whether physical or intellectual. So really looking at who are we, and looking at our identities, because throughout this subject we're looking at our identity, so being aware of self so that we can actually work with others is really, really important. So working on self to be able to work with others. The learning objectives are really, there's 4 of them. Be able to identify and discuss how leadership is mobilised in relation to a range of cultural, racial, ethnic identity and other demographic differences. Be able to critically engage in discussions about difference and how it constructs either opportunities or it limits our practice of leadership. So critical engagement is important in all of our subjects. Critical engagement is actually looking underneath, looking at the power differentials, looking at unconscious biases, looking at who we are and what our biases and assumptions are, what others are. Be able to build a theoretical framework for our practice, so in the face of difference and diversity challenges. So what is our theory of leadership when we're actually working with difference and diversity? And then put these things into practice, because it's great to learn things, but it's more important that you actually put them into practice in your relationships, in the workplace and in society. So we're very much grounded in organisational learning, but also working globally and socially. So how we will learn together. We really emphasise interactive and collaborative learning, which is about leadership. So in this subject and in the MBL, the Master of Business Leadership, we will be looking at collaborative learning or leadership as practice. A collective collaborative model, not a single heroic model. So it's not about individual leaders and it's not about the captain on the ship. It's about how we work together in an ecosystem approach as against an ego approach. We have an Interact 2, which is a Blackboard learning site, which may be difficult for some of you to use if you're new, so please let me know and we can get assistance for you, and there are guides all the way through on how to use it. There are weekly topics and discussion forums. In those we have readings and videos. I encourage you to read and look at the videos every week and get ahead of that. Engage in the learning community. There will be questions and there'll be a discussion forum, and in that learning community I engage you to talk with others, and I will lightly facilitate that process, but I realise that the wisdom's in the room and you will learn a lot from each other. So I will be your guide in that space. And then there's a personal reflection. There'll be questions for you, and you'll use a think space, which is a blogging space, which there are guides on how to use that too on the Interact site. So we encourage you throughout this course to be developing your e-portfolio, your electronic portfolio in the space. There's an online meeting room, which is, we use Adobe Connect, which is quite easy. You click on that, but you need to set up your headset and make sure your volume's right. You don't have to worry about the webcam because we normally just do, I come in by video. If we've only got a few people, we may do video, and it's normally chatting participants and then I talk, but you may have to talk, so we'll adjust all that as well. That's every second week I have an online lecture, and then in the between time I open the chat room so we can have a bit of a chat about whatever you want to talk about, key concepts, issues, assessment, etc. It's a very collaborative place. And assessment finally. There are guides and resources for each assessment on the left-hand side of the Interact 2 site, and they are very, very extensive. The first assessment is a digital identity story. Don't be scared about this. You just have to think about and write your script on your identity, 250 to 500 words. Then you can either do an iPhone video and put that story across that. You can do a PowerPoint with the script going across it. The guides will show you a whole range of different ways of doing that. Okay? The second thing is a courageous conversation. This is where we urge you to think about a diversity challenge in your workplace engage in a conversation with a colleague around that. And you might have a different perspective from that person, and in some ways it'd be better to have a courageous conversation with someone where you do have a different perspective. And take notes afterwards of that conversation, because you'll be expected to talk about what that issue was, how you held the conversation, and what the outcomes were. That's the second assessment. The third one is an academic essay about a diversity issue in your organisation. This one we're expecting you to actually write in a scholarly way. There are guides on academic writing. We expect you to use the APA style guide. All of these guides are on the library site, and I've got links to those on our Interact 2 site as well. So that essay will be submitted as a Word document so that I can actually critique it. The other two, we expect you to submit those through the ThinkSpace, but we'll support you if you are having issues doing that. Okay, so that's 3 assessment items. It's very clear on the subject outline when each of those are due. So please start scaffolding to that and looking at being ahead of the game in submitting, because the deadlines are really tight, particularly for the last assessment item. So if you have any questions, you can contact me. Preference is hbryant@csu.edu.au, my email, because I only work part-time and I'm really connected with my email. So I will try and respond to you within 3 working days. It will sometimes be less than that. If it's over the weekend, it may not be. It just depends on what I'm up to. Okay. My phone number at work is 026338. It's not 1462. It's 4162 6338 4162, and I'll correct that in a minute. And as I said, I work part-time. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to correct that right now, so that you will have it as the right, oh, that's good. It's not correcting itself. Hang on. I'll just correct it now so that you will have the right phone number, 4162. So that's 6338 4162, and I'm going to put that up again so that it's right there in front of us. So 02 6338 4162, and welcome. I'm really looking forward to working with you all this session. I've noticed quite a lot of you have been in my subjects, the last 2 subjects, and I'm really looking forward to and excited about working with you again, because this will be another part of your journey, which will continue on. It'll still be challenging, but it'll be another piece in the puzzle that you can add to your career portfolio as well. So welcome, and I really look forward to working with you over the next 14 weeks. Cheers.